Bonjour y10. Welcome to the next in the series on food and drink. We are looking at la nourriture, which is the word for food in French. It's where we get the English word nourishment. Traditionnel. So France is a country that's very proud of its culinary work and its cuisine. They've been accused, I suppose, of being quite snobby when it comes to food. They think it's the best. Everybody's got their opinions, but that's pretty much how the French feel about it. So I'll be looking at quantities, how much of something. This might be quite relevant from a real life point of view, because if you end up on holiday or whatever, or any sort of time in France, you're going to need to know how much to order. That is an exam favourite as well, particularly in listening. They like to say, how many grams of potatoes did this person want, and so on. So I'm looking to combine the two today: quantities, exam activities. Now, obviously, this is your last online learning that you have to do, hopefully forever. So can I start by saying thank you all very, very much for sticking with it and working really hard to get it to stay up to date. These lessons do take a bit of practice, a bit of preparation, so the time taken by you to complete the work is very much appreciated. Okay, so big bucks, la nourriture traditionnelle. So I'm going to begin with au marché. So we're at the market, and here are some key phrases that I just want you to note down. Going to be useful for listening, of course, and I'm also thinking for the role play element of the speaking exam. So the first one is vous désirez. What do you want? And if I click on this image, hopefully it should play for us for the French accent.
Vous désirez?
Vous désirez. Je voudrais, I want.
Je voudrais.
Okay, so 1 kilogram of. 1 kilo de.
1 kilo de.
Really would help if you could make a note of these and maybe say them with me. So 250 grams of. Now this is where a lot of people lose some marks, because the bigger numbers, you wouldn't have seen them for a little while, easily forgotten. So we've got 250 grammes de.
250 grammes de.
So it's important that we know our bigger numbers. 200, 50. 500 grams of. 500 grammes de.
500 grammes de.
Or 1 livre de.
1 livre de.
Now, don't mix this up with a book. Right, we know that livre is book, but that is in the masculine. 1 livre, I guess, is like half a kilo. Next. Okay, so a quick task here for you to do. This would be a foundation style activity. Imagine this was a conversation and I am the guy behind the stall and I'm asking you, vous désirez? What would you like? You are going to respond, je voudrais, and in this case you want 1 kilogram of bananas, 1 kilo de bananes. Same thing for you now, okay? For the oranges, the carrots, the mushrooms, the potatoes and the peas, can you give me what you were looking for here in French? At this point, I recommend that you pause the tape, because pause the video, when you hear my voice again, I'll be going through the answers. So 250 grams of oranges would look a little bit like this. Remember, I need you to write down what you see here. 250 grams of oranges in French. So either you can write the numbers or 250 grammes d'orange. 500 grams of carrots. 500 grammes de carottes. Or 1 livre de carottes. 150 grammes de champignons. 5 kilos de pommes de terre. And 50 grammes de petits pois. That would be a very basic foundation style task. Okay, so the next thing that is again a exam favorite is asking you for prices. So here's the main phrase that you need. C'est combien? When you hear that, or if you say it, you're asking how much is it? Or how much are? How much is it? Or how much are? Whatever. In this case, we're looking at les pois, pears.
C'est combien les pois?
C'est combien? I'm thinking again about the role play where it's the unseen question, where they ask you to ask a question. So they might say, ask your teacher how much the apples are, and you would have to say c'est combien les pommes, etc. You reply c'est.
C'est.
Now, the reason I'm playing that one for you is because this is where you lose marks. Right? You don't want to say cest. That's an absolute no-no. C'est. And so prices then. So for example, €6 a kilo.
6 euros le kilo.
6 euros, silent S, le kilo. So that's per kilo. Sometimes we buy things in pounds, so this one is €4 a pound.
4 euros la livre.
4 euros la livre. Excuse my emails pinging in the background. This person's asking, c'est combien le chou?
C'est combien le chou?
How much is the cabbage? C'est
1 euro la pièce.
1 euro la pièce. €1 each. €1 a piece. The important thing here for all of these is just the pronunciation. La pièce. Perfect. So, task for you then. C'est combien le, la, les? C'est, and then whatever it is. So this person is saying that you need to write, so for first one you would have to write down c'est combien, and then choose le, la, or les for carotte. Generally you buy your carrots in multiples, right, so it's usually going to be plural. Now the price is €1.30 a kilo. How would you write that down? Same for the peas, the onion, the tomatoes. Put them all together. The answers will be in the PowerPoint provided on Moodle. And a little bit more practice here. En français, comment dit-on? And we want you to write how you would say these in French. If you need to use a dictionary, you're more than welcome for things like aubergines, or courgette is a French word. Or you can use wordreference.com. Again, answers will be on the PowerPoint, which you can get underneath this video. Okay, so before we go any further, la cuisine française. I think this is going to be a bit, it's a bit of me talking at you a little bit, just a little bit of an insight into what French cooking is all about. You don't need to make notes on this if you don't want to. It's about being aware of how the French feel about their food, because they've got a certain relationship with it. So I'm going to talk to you now sort of university lecture style. You make a note of anything you feel is, important. So, les principaux ingrédients. Get used to this word principaux. You'll see it across many topics. It means main. So in French cooking, the main ingredients are l'huile d'olive et le beurre. Now when I say make notes, new vocabulary. L'huile d'olive, olive oil, et beurre, butter. Le poisson, Surtout dans les régions au bord de la mer. Now, hopefully you can figure out what this is saying, but fish, especially in the southern regions or the regions along the seaside. Obviously, because they have the sea with them. Légumes, vegetables, comme les courgettes, les choux et les carottes. So courgettes, cabbage and carrots. Perfect. And then la viande, meat. Like boeuf, mouton, poulet, lapin. So beef, mouton, lamb. If you look for mouton in the dictionary, you'd find sheep, but lamb. Le poulet, chicken, and le lapin, rabbit. Very popular in France, rabbit. And there we have some meat. Continued then. Lots of French cooking has les herbes, which is what it looks like, and les épices. Now what do herbs go well with? Spices. So that's a key word for us, les épices, spices. We also have lots of les produits laitiers, which you should know from last lesson, being milk products, and especially fromage, cheese. Lots of different cheeses from France. Okay, on to les plats traditionnels. Again, keyword here, it'll come up a lot in this topic, les plats. Plates, dishes, anything like that, meals. Les plats traditionnels sont souvent des plats en sauce. So our traditional dishes are usually dishes which have a sauce in them. So une blanquette de veau. Blanquette doesn't really translate to anything, but there it is. It's very hard to describe actually. But it does depend on the region, of course. So for example, in the Lorraine-Alsace region here we've got quiche. That's where quiche comes from. You'll notice that a lot of this stuff has made its way across to England, well, to Britain. We've got fondue, which is found here in the middle of the country. Fondue, of course, can be, it's mostly for cheese and stuff, but you can have a chocolate fondue these days. There's entrecôte, which is basically steak, found along the Bordeaux region. We've got, this isn't the best picture actually, but we've got choucroute, which you'll see about in a second, coming from the Alsace region. So just like a rissole, for example, is only really found in certain areas of the UK. A rissole that you get in a chip shop, well, you find that in South Wales, Yorkshire, and the North East. Same here, certain dishes are found in certain areas of the country. So, the first one is choucroute garnie. So, you don't need to worry about a translation, but it comes from the northeast of France, and it's mainly composed of cabbage, potatoes, and pork. So there it is, that is choucroute garnie. It's coming from the northeast of France. Now, you can sort of tell because the northeast of France shares a border with Germany, and Germany is very, very famous for its meat products, hence you have a fairly heavy meat influence in this dish. Boeuf bourgignon, this is something that has made its way over to the UK, and it's coming from Bourgogne, which is a region in the centre of France. Il est constitué, it's made up of beef, carrots, and mixed potatoes, I guess, mijoté. Le gratin dauphinois, from the southeast of France, from crème fraîche, pommes de terre, fromage. We have this here. We call it dauphinois potatoes. La bouillabaisse. It hasn't really made its way up to us, I don't think, but it's from the southeast of France, from Marseille. C'est une soupe qui est principalement composée de poissons légumes. So, fish and veg soup. If you fancy it, great. Okay, so l'influence des pays francophones. Now, we saw the word francophone way back in a different topic. I remember one of you asking me what it meant. So, these are the countries that have a strong link with France, or they speak French, or they're owned by France. So in 2012, the favourite dish of the French was couscous. Now we know all about that. We have it here. It is a dish qui vient, which comes from Maroc. Where might that be? Morocco, of course. Why is it significant? It has a very strong link, un lien fort avec la France. So, finally, la tradition. Food is a big deal in France, right? A meal is a big deal. So a meal, typically, is un repas, a meal, with an entrée, a starter, a plat, a main dish, and a dessert. Usually it's un repas tout ensemble, all together, en famille. It's a big family occasion, and it usually lasts a long, long time. Fast food, of course, has made its way over into France, so de plus en plus, more and more fast foods outlets are in France. Of course, you have McDonald's, which is usually shortened to McDo. Subway, KFC are among the most popular, mais aussi des fast food français. And probably the most famous example of a French fast food restaurant would be Quick. So there we go. Quick Burger. You have sandwicherie, which is what it looks like. This would be, I guess, the very French version of Subway, I guess. And a personal favourite of mine, La Micaline, which is a type of bakery, a bit like our Greggs or Jenkins. They had one here. They had one of these, where in the town that I lived in France, and I spent a lot of money there. Quick and easy. See, I wasn't a great chef back then. And that school, I think the school experience of food is quite good, actually. On mange au self, meaning it's kind of like a self-serve. Look at the standard of food that you get, and these are trained chefs, every single one of them, and the meals are of high quality. You would get an entrée, a starter, un plat principal, a bit of cheese, why not, because we're in France, and a dessert. Now, I'm not saying that this looks the most appetizing, but, you ain't going to go hungry, I know that much. You'll see a bit more of this when we do the school topic in year 11. Right, on to the exam-style activities. Well then, in this one, I need you to match 1 to 10 to A to J. Answers will be found on the PowerPoint underneath. So, things to point out to you. I'm going to read them out. Je suis végétarien. Which of these would finish that sentence, basically? Je suis allergique. Je n'aime pas. Je suis au régime. If you are au régime, you are on a diet. Il ne mange pas de bonbons, la mousse à la fraise. J'adore les gâteaux et le limonade à les frites, les escargots. And then, which of these would finish the sentence? Now, you've got a few options here. You can maybe just put them together so it makes sense. You could look at the grammar. So, for example, est vraiment délicieuse. The fact that délicieuse is in the feminine means that whatever is being spoken about in the first half of the sentence has to be feminine too. So that might take it down a little bit. A goût is a taste. If something's dégoûtant, what could that mean? Think about how it sounds. And if something is a grossir, if something makes you grossir, it means it makes you put on weight. So that's a little bit of help to get you going, see how you do. Next task then is a GCSE style reading task about something called la raclette. Now, la raclette is a very famous French dish. I'm just going to read it out to you so you can hear a little bit of French and then you'll have the task. So la raclette est un plat qui vient de l'Est de la France, du département de la Savoie. D'habitude, on la mange en hiver et c'est un des repas favoris parmi les skieurs. La raclette est populaire pour une soirée entre amis. La seule chose à préparer à l'avance, ce sont les pommes de terre. La raclette consiste du fromage à raclette et il y a un appareil pour la faire fondre. Il y a aussi de la charcuterie comme le jambon, le saucisson, le salami. Une bonne salade est souvent servie avec la raclette. Pour l'accompagner, on recommande du vin blanc. If you're awake for an extra mark, you might want to ask me or tell me why there is an E here. And here are your questions. Where exactly does la raclette come from in France? At what time of year is it usually eaten? With whom do people tend to eat a raclette? What needs to be prepared? What's the main ingredient? What two meats can be eaten with it? And what is often served with it? Written in English, answer in English. A write-in task then. Translation into English. So d'habitude en France, on prend le déjeuner entre midi et 14 heures. Si on est chez soi, à l'école ou au restaurant, on mange un déjà traditionnel. La plupart des Français mangent une entrée, un plat principal et du fromage ou un dessert. À boire, c'est toujours de l'eau ou du vin pour les adultes. That is page 145 of the textbook I've got, so ignore that. As best you can, put this into English. Don't worry if it's not spot on, but what I will tell you is on prend literally means we take, or one takes. It's a verb that is used a lot with food. On prend meaning we take or they take. You can put they eat if you like, because remember, translation is to convey meaning. It doesn't need to be spot on. See how you do with this one. And again, I should say the answer will be on the PowerPoint, which is underneath this video. More and more, the exam board are trying to keep things modern and up to date. So here we've got real-life TripAdvisor reports from some French visitors to the restaurant L'Île Verte, the Green Island in Quiberon. And they ask you to complete the grid in English. So you read each of the reports. These are French quotation marks right here. So you have a little read and you tell me the date of the review, the opinion, and any other information given. That can be in English. Date of review, you should be eating up those marks. Come on. What the opinion is, any other information for all 4 reviews. Answers, of course, on the PowerPoint underneath. And that is the end for now. Any questions? I am on Teams as ever, or you can send me an email. If you finish everything, please let me know and I will provide you with some more stuff. Otherwise, merci, au revoir.